Welcome back to the deep dive. This time, we're tackling Amazon, taking a deep dive into their 2024 10K filing, you know their annual report, to investors. It's like getting a financial x-ray of this e-commerce giant, giving you a look inside at where Amazon stands today, the challenges they're facing, and their plans for the future.
It's really fascinating because it's more than just numbers. You see the strategy, the risks, the big bets they're making, like their mission statement. It's not just about selling things. It's about being Earth's most customer-centric company. Pretty ambitious, right?
It's a bold statement, that's for sure. And it makes you wonder how they're actually doing that. And it's not just about shoppers either. They work with sellers, developers, enterprises. It's a whole ecosystem.
Exactly. And this 10K, it gives us a peek behind the curtain at how they do it. One thing that jumped out at me is their focus on long-term thinking. It's one of their 4 guiding principles, along with customer obsession, passion for invention, and commitment to operational excellence.
So not just about the quick buck. They're playing the long game, but what does that actually look like?
Well, one key indicator is free cash flow, basically. The cash they have left over after covering their essential expenses.
And investments. Amazon prioritizes growing this free cash flow over short-term profits. Put simply, they're willing to reinvest a lot now to secure a top spot in the future.
Makes sense when you think about how much they're putting into things like AWS, their cloud platform.
Absolutely, AWS. Perfect example of their long-term vision. They saw the potential of cloud computing early on and invested heavily, even when it wasn't profitable right away. Now, it's huge, a massive part of their business.
Okay, so we see Amazon's in it for the long haul, but they're not doing it alone. This 10K, it mentions they had over 1.5 million employees as of December 2024. That's more people than some cities.
Mind-boggling, right? I remember visiting one of their fulfillment centers a few years back. It was like a city within a city. Robots zipping around, thousands of people working, all in sync. That scale, it's a strength, but also a challenge.
Well, having so many employees, it lets them operate at an incredible scale and efficiency. But it also means they face tough competition for talent, especially in tech and logistics.
So it's not just about numbers, it's about having the right people. And that brings us to another big theme from the 10K competition. Amazon's not shy about naming names. They're up against everyone, from traditional retailers like Walmart, to online marketplaces like eBay, to tech giants like Google, even healthcare providers.
It's crowded and competitive. The 10K acknowledges that some competitors have greater resources, longer history, more customers, even stronger brand recognition. So how does Amazon stay ahead in this cutthroat environment?
Well, the 10K outlines some key strategies. One is, of course, their focus on the customer experience. They're obsessed with offering the widest selection, the lowest prices, the fastest delivery, the most convenient shopping experience.
A classic Amazon formula. But it's easier said than done. The 10K. It shows they're constantly working to reduce their variable costs, meaning the costs associated with producing and delivering each product.
So things like negotiating better deals with suppliers or optimizing their logistics network.
Exactly. Always looking for ways to be more efficient. But at the same time, they're also masters at leveraging their fixed costs, those huge investments in technology. And infrastructure, we talked about, those allow Amazon to handle enormous volumes of sales without a similar increase in costs.
So as they grow bigger, their costs per unit actually go down. That's a powerful advantage.
It is. It's a classic example of what economists call economies of scale. It's a big reason why Amazon can undercut competitors on price.
Okay, so we see they're laser focused on growth, efficiency, customer experience, but their 10K also spends a lot of time on the risk. It's not all sunshine and roses.
Definitely not. The 10K is very transparent. About the challenges, some are pretty standard, like protecting their intellectual property, managing inventory, dealing with seasonal demand. But others are more specific to Amazon, their structure and scale.
Like what? Give us an example.
Well, one major risk is the complexity of managing their huge fulfillment network and data centers. These are the backbone of their operations, but also incredibly intricate and vulnerable to disruptions.
So if something goes wrong in their fulfillment network, it could affect the entire system.
Exactly. And in today's world, those disruptions, they could come from anywhere. Natural disasters, cyber attacks, geopolitical instability. The 10K also dives into their reliance on key suppliers, another potential vulnerability.
It's fascinating to see how much they have to consider. It's not just about selling products, it's about managing this complex web of
Yeah.
interconnected systems and anticipating risks.
And you know what else? They even list climate change as a potential risk. They're worried about things like increased operating costs due to extreme weather, potential damage to their reputation, even changes in customer behavior.
That's really interesting. It shows they're thinking long term, considering a lot of factors that could impact their business, but also makes you realize how vulnerable even a company as powerful as Amazon can be.
Absolutely, a lot at stake. But the
Yeah,
fact that they're so open about these risks in their 10K, it suggests they're not ignoring them.
Yeah.
They're actively trying to mitigate these challenges and adapt to a rapidly changing world.
So we're starting to see a more complete picture of Amazon. It's not just about their size or their technology. It's about their ability to manage complexity, navigate risk, and constantly evolve. But we've only scratched the surface. In the next part of our deep dive, we'll go deeper into specific sections of this 10K, uncovering even more insights about their financial performance, their priorities, and the challenges ahead.
We'll be right back. Welcome back to the deep dive. Let's keep going with this 10K and see what else we can find.
You know, talking about these risks, it reminds me of something from the 10K that really stood out to me. They're really pushing hard on expanding, into new markets and products.
Yeah, it seems like they're always moving into new areas, but this constant expansion, comes with risks too. The 10K says that Amazon might not have a ton of experience in some of these newer segments, and there's always a chance that customers won't, go for these new offerings.
So it's a gamble, a calculated one. They're not just sticking to what they know. They're going after new opportunities, even if it means going into uncharted territory. And it's not just in the U.S., right? Their international operations are a big part of this growth plan.
Definitely expanding globally is key for them. But as you can imagine, that comes with its own set of problems. The 10K specifically talks about risks like navigating different political and regulatory landscapes, dealing with changing economic conditions, and even facing legal systems that aren't as internet-friendly as what they're used to in the U.S.
Sounds like a maze of logistics and legalities. It really shows how complicated it is to operate on a global scale. But let's switch gears for a sec and talk about something that's at the heart of Amazon's success, their technology. I was really interested in the details they shared about their approach to innovation.
One thing that impressed me was their dedication to research and development, especially in areas like AI and machine learning. They're not just reacting to tech trends, they're actively shaping them.
That's a great point. It's not just about keeping up, it's about staying ahead of the curve. And that brings us to another important thing highlighted in the 10K, their human capital.
We talked about the competition for skilled workers earlier, but the 10K goes deeper. It emphasizes how important it is to build a strong company culture and provide competitive pay and benefits.
It's a reminder that even the most technologically advanced companies still rely on people. And speaking of assets, let's talk about something that's crucial to Amazon's entire operation, their fulfillment network. The 10K gives us a peek into how complicated it is to manage this global operation.
Yeah, and when we connect this back to their mission of being customer-centric, we can see how vital this network is. They're always working to make their fulfillment centers better improve delivery times and expand their capacity to handle the growing number of orders.
It's mind-blowing to think about the scale of their operation, but as efficient as they are, the 10K doesn't hide the challenges they face in this area.
You're right. They know there are risks with things like predicting customer demand, accurately managing inventory levels, and even ensuring the safety and security of their facilities. Any disruption in their fulfillment network could really hurt their business.
And in today's world, those disruptions could come from anywhere. Like we've discussed, natural disasters, geopolitical events, cybersecurity threats. It's a lot to consider. It really shows how much strategic thinking and risk management goes into running a company like Amazon.
And it's not just about handling existing risks. It's about looking ahead and anticipating future challenges. The 10K specifically mentions their efforts to deal with the potential impacts of climate change on their operations. That's a perfect example of their forward-thinking approach.
So if we take a step back and look at everything we've talked about, what's the biggest takeaway for you? What's the main thing you're seeing in this 10K?
For me, it's realizing that Amazon's success isn't just about their size or their tech. It's about their intense focus on the customer, their willingness to take risks, and their constant drive to innovate. They're always pushing the limits, experimenting with new things, and adapting to a world that's changing fast.
It's like they're constantly evolving, and this 10K gives us a snapshot of that process. It's not just a document, it's a living reflection of a company that's always moving.
And in the last part of our deep dive, we'll keep exploring that movement. We'll get into the specifics of Amazon's financials, their strategic goals, and the risks they'll face in the coming years. So stay tuned for our final analysis.
Welcome back to the deep dive. We've spent the last two parts, kind of breaking down Amazon's business model, their strategies, the risks they face, all through this 2024 10K filing.
Yeah, it's like we've been, digging carefully, excavating layers of information to understand this company.
Exactly. And now in this final part, let's shift gears and talk about their financials. We talked about their focus on long-term free cash flow growth, but what does that actually look like in the numbers?
Well, the 10K gives us a ton of detail, but one thing that really jumps out is their constant push for efficiency. Like they're really good at getting the most out of their operations. For example, on page 97, they talk about this new initiative to improve their packaging process. They think it'll save them millions of dollars every year.
So they're thinking big, but they're also paying attention to the little things.
Absolutely. And it's not just about cutting costs. It's about using their size to their advantage. Remember, those big investments in technology and infrastructure we talked about, those are really paying off.
Right, because those fixed costs mean they can handle huge volumes of sales without their expenses going up as much.
Exactly. And you can see that in their financials. If you look at their operating margins, the percentage of revenue they keep after covering expenses, they've been going up steadily over the past few years.
So they're making more profit as they get bigger. That's a powerful combo.
It is. But of course, no business is perfect.
Oh.
The 10K also points out some key risks that could affect how well they do financially in the future.
And one that I thought was interesting was how much they rely on certain suppliers in a world where global supply chains are getting disrupted more often. That seems like a big weakness.
Yeah, you're right to bring that up on page 112. They specifically mention the possibility of problems caused by natural disasters, geopolitical instability, even pandemics, like we saw with COVID-19.
It really shows that even a company as big as Amazon can't completely control everything.
Exactly. And it's not just physical suppliers either. They need digital content providers more and more for things like Prime Video and Amazon Music.
Which, as we said before, are becoming a bigger and bigger part of their whole business. They're not just an online store anymore. They're like a media company, too.
And that comes with its own set of headaches. The 10K talks about how expensive it is to make high-quality content and the tough competition they have in the streaming world.
So they're spending a lot of money on original shows and movies, but there's no guarantee it'll work out. It's risky.
It is, but if there's one thing we've learned from this deep dive, it's that Amazon isn't afraid to take risks. They're always pushing the limits, trying new things, and adapting to a world that's changing fast.
And this 2024 10K, it gives us a look into how they do that. It's not just a boring financial report. It shows us the thinking, the risks, and the constant innovation that have made Amazon what it is today.
And it gives us a lot to think about. What's next for Amazon? What new challenges will they face? And how will they keep changing and adapting?
Yeah, those are tough questions, but this deep dive has given us some clues we can use to understand what's happening and what might happen to Amazon in the future.
Definitely. We encourage you to check out the full 10K yourself and see what you think. It's a long document, but it's full of great information if you want to understand how one of the most influential companies in the world works.
Thanks for joining us on this deep dive into Amazon's 2024 10K. We hope you learned something new.
And until next time, keep learning, keep exploring, and keep asking the important questions.